From above, Chernobyl looks quiet, green, and almost completely still beneath a pale northern sky. But the danger here is not spread like an invisible fog.
It can change between a road, a ditch, and a patch of soil.
And today, access depends on radiation controls, security, and the war. This is the Chornobyl exclusion zone, northern Ukraine, just north of Kyiv.
Its boundaries were drawn after the reactor accident of April 1986.
Unit 4 exploded during a low-power test at the plant. The reactor building was destroyed, and radioactive material entered the atmosphere. Fire burned for days while responders worked inside a changing hazard. The evacuation turned villages, farms, and homes into controlled ground for decades after the accident. The familiar word is Chernobyl, but the official spelling is Chornobyl. The name belongs to a town, a plant, and a wider landscape. The zone itself is a managed area, not one uniform radioactive field. Rain and wind carried fallout along different paths after the release. Some particles settled on roofs, roads, forest canopies, and open ground.
Later, rain washed material into ditches, hollows, and drainage lines where water naturally collects.
That is why a clean-looking road cannot prove a clean landscape. A few meters can separate ordinary soil from a monitored hotspot. The word hotspot means concentrated contamination, not a glowing patch. Radiation has no color, smell, or sound to warn a passerby.
Only instruments can measure the dose rate at a location.
Even then, readings change with distance, shielding, weather, and surface material. A buried root zone may behave differently from a paved road. Forest soil can retain cesium, while plants and animals move it onward. This makes the zone a long-term environmental monitoring problem across seasons, soils, and decades. The red forest became its most recognizable ecological warning near the destroyed reactor. Within roughly 7 kilometers, radiation killed trees soon after the accident. Their needles turned reddish, creating the name red forest across the forest floor.
The dead timber was buried, but contamination remained in soil and waste.
Today, the forest is green again, but green does not mean harmless. Fire remains a serious concern because smoke can move contaminated particles. That is why forest management and monitoring continue inside the zone. The landscape also contains abandoned villages, farms, schools, and apartment blocks. Pripyat was built for plant workers and their families before the evacuation changed everything. Its residents left quickly, expecting a temporary evacuation that never became temporary.
The city remained, holding furniture, signs, classrooms, and unfinished routines in rooms no one finished clearing.
A stopped clock cannot tell us whether a building is safe. Moss covers steps, roots split pavement, and trees enter empty rooms. Those images feel like evidence of nature's return, but not proof of safety. But wildlife recovery does not erase the radiation protection problem. Animals can use the zone while people still face exposure limits. Science here must distinguish absence of people from absence of risk. At the plant, the central question is containment for the damaged reactor. Unit 4 sits beneath the new safe confinement arch at the center of the site. The structure was designed to limit releases and enable dismantling. It is not a time machine, and it is not permanent. Decommissioning means removing fuel, managing waste, and taking structures apart over a task measured in decades. The work is slow because every step must control exposure. Workers measure surfaces, air, soil, water, and equipment before, during, and after each operation. They use barriers, dosimeters, protective clothing, and carefully planned routes. The zone is studied precisely because conditions differ so sharply across distance, season, and land use. A map of contamination is more useful than a legend. It shows gradients, gaps, pathways, and places requiring repeated checks. The goal is not to frighten visitors, but to control uncertainty. That uncertainty now includes a second hazard: military activity near a nuclear facility.
Roads, bridges, power systems, and mine clearing work affect access. The area is not simply closed because radiation suddenly increased everywhere. It is restricted because nuclear safety and physical security must overlap.
In 2025, a drone strike damaged the new safe confinement near the reactor site.
The damage challenged its confinement and dismantling functions. In 2026, the IAEA reported another strike near spent fuel facilities at the Chornobyl site. Radiation levels at the facility remained normal after that incident. Normal readings do not make the security risk disappear.
They show why monitoring must continue while the situation changes.
The IAEA has reported drones and gunfire near the site during current monitoring missions. That is a safety issue, not a tourism detail. Authorized teams may enter only under controlled conditions and permissions. For everyone else, the boundary is a real protective measure. Chernobyl is not a supernatural wasteland waiting to attack. It is a complicated landscape shaped by accident, ecology, and policy. Some areas are recovering, others still require strict controls.
The danger is invisible, uneven, and measurable only with evidence.
The lesson is simple. Quiet ground is not automatically safe.
Every visit begins with permission, monitoring, and respect for the zone.
And Chernobyl remains, above all, a warning we can still study.